Okay, I and my dad and my uncle Mike have been working like dogs for about 3 weeks trying to get this thing ready for sheet iron. Um, and it probably doesn't look very much different than what I showed you last time, but I promise we have been working really, really hard. My uncle Mike he's actually my grandmother's brother. He's in his late 60s, I think. Anyway, he worked the crap out of Dad and I. He was hard to keep up with. So I couldn't have got anywhere near this far without him and Dad. So I'm grateful, but I'm exhausted too. Anyway, let me show you where we're at. I'm sitting at the junction of the two different roof pitches on the very top highest part of the roof. And here it is from where I'm sitting. We've spent these 3 weeks putting in all of this steel running east-west and north-south here. That's our C-purlin that ties those trusses together and is what we attach the sheet metal to. There's been a lot of kind of oaky engineering, I guess, we've had to do just trying to figure out how to put it together. Because as you see, these trusses angle down this way and end at that I-beam, which make the other trusses are 90 degrees to that. They end down here, which means that there's a big gap. I can't even find where. There we go. There's a big gap from this last truss right there, running this way, to the one to the edges here. Anyway, the point is, we ended up having to put in a whole bunch of supports in between to hold that roof peak up all the way to where it meets properly. And then another thing that took forever just to figure out was something called valley pans. So on sheet metal where you have, well, I guess on any roof, where you have two different sheet metal angling down at the different angles where it meets, you end up having to put flashing, in the case of shingles here, to catch any water that might get through the shingles where that intersection is, and run it out. In the case of sheet metal, you put something called a valley pan, which is basically just fancy big flashing. But since it's so big, you need to have a pretty solid support to hold it, which is what these runners are here. So we've got an 8-inch gap between. This is 3-inch C-purlin on each side. So our valley pans angle this way and angle this way. And there's a little ridge in the middle. You attach those to this, and then we attach our sheet metal to that. So this will support that seam between the two different roof angles, and it will also make sure that no water comes in right there at that kind of weak point, I guess, in the sheet metal. Anyway, this took a while to put together and to figure out how in the heck to do it in the first place, and it's probably wrong. So anybody that does a roof for a living, I'm sure would just shake their head and think that we did a horrible job, but it'll hold. It's solid at least. Anyway, so this is what we've been doing. Sheet metal has been delayed by I don't know how long. I expected it to be in 2 weeks ago. It's still not in. Valley pans are in, but not actually the roof metal. And all I know is it will be here sometime in June. I was hoping that meant today, but I don't think that's actually going to happen. We'll see when it actually gets here. And then I can actually start covering this and quit having all this water that I have to sweep out every time it rains. And then maybe move on to something other than this roof. Anyway, but there is progress happening. I think we're getting to the point in this where progress is a little harder to measure. It's not as apparent all the time.